The poison begins. Maya adjusted the collar of her kurta and took a deep breath before entering her parents' home. The familiar scent of cardamom tea and incense should have been comforting, but lately, family gatherings filled her with unease. Something had shifted in the past few months, though she couldn't quite name it. Her brother, Rohan, greeted her at the door with a hug that felt slightly stiff, and his wife Priya offered a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Maya pushed away her discomfort and joined the family in the living room, where her parents and younger cousin Neha were already seated. "Maya, finally," her mother said with a tone Maya couldn't quite read. "We were just discussing career stability. Priya was telling us how important it is to have a traditional, secure job." Maya worked as a freelance graphic designer, a choice she'd been proud of until recently. "Freelancing has its own stability, Ma. I've built a strong client base." Priya laughed lightly, touching Rohan's arm. "Of course, but at your age, shouldn't you be thinking about something more permanent? I was just saying how concerned we all are about your future." The word "we" hung in the air like smoke. Maya glanced at her father, who suddenly seemed absorbed in his newspaper. When had her family started discussing her life without her? Throughout dinner, Maya noticed the pattern repeating. Priya would make seemingly innocent observations about Maya's choices, each one wrapped in false concern. Her decision to live alone rather than with her parents until marriage, her casual approach to dating, her weekend trips with friends instead of attending every family function. "I'm just worried," Priya said, her voice dripping with synthetic sweetness, "that Maya might be becoming too independent for her own good. Family should come first, shouldn't it?" Maya felt her chest tighten. She wanted to defend herself, but couldn't find the words without sounding defensive. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. After dinner, as Maya helped clear the table, a man she vaguely recognized entered through the back door. Tall, with kind eyes and an easy smile, he greeted Rohan with the familiarity of old friendship. "Arjun, you remember my sister Maya?" Rohan said, his voice warming slightly. "Of course," Arjun replied, extending his hand. His handshake was firm, his gaze direct and somehow understanding. "You've started your own design firm, right? Rohan mentioned it. That takes real courage." Maya felt something loosen in her chest. Someone saw her choices as courage rather than irresponsibility. As the evening wore on, Maya caught Arjun watching the family dynamics with quiet observation. When Priya made another veiled comment about Maya's lifestyle, Arjun's expression shifted almost imperceptibly, a flicker of recognition crossing his features. Driving home that night, Maya replayed the evening in her mind. The way her mother had seemed distant, her father distracted, the knowing looks Priya exchanged with Neha, and then Arjun's words, simple but validating, cutting through the fog of doubt that had been settling over her for months. She didn't know it yet, but that evening marked a turning point. The poison had been spreading slowly through her family, but for the first time, someone else had noticed it too. Life lesson. Trust your instincts when something feels wrong in your relationships. Manipulation often works through subtle, persistent erosion of confidence rather than obvious attacks.
Isolation and doubt. The weeks following that dinner felt like walking through fog. Maya's phone, once filled with family group chat messages, had gone strangely quiet. Her mother's daily calls dwindled to brief, formal check-ins. When Maya suggested lunch with her father, he claimed to be too busy, though she knew he'd recently retired. The exclusion hurt more than any argument would have. At least in conflict, she'd know where she stood. This silent withdrawal felt like disappearing from her own family's story. "They didn't invite me to Neha's birthday planning," Maya told her best friend Kavya over coffee. "Priya organized everything. Apparently, I'm too unreliable to help with family events now. What Maya didn't know was that Priya had been busy. A comment here about Maya forgetting to call their grandmother, though Maya had called just yesterday. A concerned observation there about Maya seeming stressed and distant when Maya had simply been focused on a major project. Each lie was small enough to seem plausible, caring enough to seem genuine. Maya began second-guessing herself. Had she been neglecting her family? Was her independence actually selfishness in disguise? She found herself apologizing for things she hadn't done, trying desperately to mend relationships she didn't understand were broken. One evening, her phone buzzed with an unexpected message. "Hey, it's Arjun. Rohan gave me your number. Would you like to grab coffee sometime? No pressure." Maya stared at the message for a long moment. Part of her wanted to decline, to curl up in the safety of isolation. But something about Arjun's straightforward kindness made her respond. "Sure, tomorrow afternoon?" They met at a quiet cafe near the park. Arjun didn't pry or probe. Instead, he talked about his work as an architect, his love for old buildings and the stories they held. Maya found herself relaxing, talking about her design projects with genuine enthusiasm for the first time in weeks. "You light up when you talk about your work," Arjun observed. "That's rare and valuable." "My family doesn't see it that way," Maya said before she could stop herself. Arjun's expression grew thoughtful. "I've known Rohan since we were kids. Your family was always close, warm. Something's changed recently." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. Someone else had noticed. She wasn't imagining it. Over the following weeks, coffee meetings became regular. Arjun never pushed Maya to explain the family situation, but his presence offered something she desperately needed, a space where she didn't have to justify her existence or doubt her reality. They walked through botanical gardens, discussing everything from childhood memories to philosophical questions about belonging. Arjun shared his own story of feeling disconnected from expectations, choosing architecture over the family law firm. He understood the weight of disappointing people you loved. "The thing about manipulation," Arjun said one evening as they watched the sunset, "is that it makes you doubt your own mind. But Maya, I've seen you with your family before all this. You were never the problem." Maya turned to him, surprised by the certainty in his voice. "You really think so?" "I know so." His gaze was steady, honest. "And I think, eventually, the truth has a way of surfacing." Meanwhile, cracks were forming in Priya's carefully constructed narrative. Rohan came home one day to hear Priya on the phone, her voice cold as she spoke about Maya. "She's so self-absorbed. Yes, I'm trying to help the family see it, but some people are just blind to their own selfishness." Rohan stood frozen in the doorway, confusion clouding his face. That didn't sound like concern. That sounded like something else entirely. Unexpected connection. The spring festival arrived with its explosion of colors and music. Maya had decided to attend the family celebration despite her anxiety, determined not to let fear keep her away from traditions she loved. She wore her favorite emerald sari and arrived at her parents' house with a box of sweets, armor made of small gestures. Arjun was already there, helping Rohan string lights across the courtyard. He looked up as Maya entered, and his smile was like coming home. "You made it," he said warmly, as if her presence was the most natural thing in the world. Priya's eyes narrowed slightly as she watched the exchange, but she maintained her perfect hostess smile. "Maya, how lovely. Though you're a bit late. We already assigned all the preparation tasks." "That's okay," Maya replied quietly. "I'm just happy to be here." The evening progressed with the usual festivities, but Maya felt hyper-aware of every interaction. Her mother's greetings were polite, but distant. Her father barely made eye contact. Only Nia seemed conflicted, looking between Maya and Priya with growing confusion. Arjun stayed close without being obvious about it.
When Maya felt overwhelmed by the crowd, he suggested they check if the chai needed refilling. When conversation grew awkward, he filled the silence with gentle humor. His attentiveness wasn't intrusive. It was like having a quiet guardian who understood exactly what she needed. They found themselves on the rooftop terrace, away from the noise below. The city lights sprawled beneath them, and the night air carried the scent of jasmine. "Thank you," Maya said softly, "for being here, for everything these past few weeks." Arjun leaned against the railing beside her. "I haven't done anything special. You've reminded me that I'm not crazy, that I'm not the problem." Maya's voice caught slightly. "Do you know how much that means when everyone you love is treating you like a stranger?" Arjun turned to face her fully. In the moonlight, his expression was serious, tender. "Maya, I need to tell you something. I've admired you for a long time. Years, actually. The way you pursued your dreams despite pressure to choose something safer. Your kindness, even when people don't deserve it. Your strength." Maya's breath caught. "You barely knew me." "He knew enough," he said gently. "Rohan talked about you constantly. I saw you at family events, always making sure everyone was included, always caring. And now, watching you handle this situation with such grace, when you could have responded with anger or bitterness, I admire you even more." "I don't feel graceful," Maya admitted. "I feel broken." "You're not broken. You're bending under pressure, but you haven't snapped. There's a difference." Arjun hesitated, then added, "I know this timing is complicated. Your life is difficult right now, and maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but Maya, I care about you, not as Rohan's sister, as yourself." Maya felt tears slide down her cheeks, but they weren't tears of sadness, they were relief, recognition, something like hope. "I care about you too. I didn't want to admit it because everything else feels so unstable, but you've become the most stable thing in my life." Arjun reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he gently wiped her tears with his thumb. "Then let me be that for you. However you need, whatever pace feels right." Below them, laughter and music continued. Up here, something new was beginning, careful and genuine. Maya let herself lean into the possibility of it, the warmth of someone seeing her truly and choosing to stay. They rejoined the party hand in hand, a simple gesture that felt revolutionary. Priya noticed immediately, her expression flickering with something that might have been concern or calculation. She moved toward them with purpose. "How sweet," Priya said, her voice layered with meaning. "Though, Maya, I hope you're not rushing into anything. You know how impulsive you can be." Before Maya could respond, Arjun spoke calmly. "Actually, I'm the one who's been interested for a while. Maya's been quite thoughtful about everything, as she always is." Priya's smile tightened, almost imperceptibly. For the first time, Maya saw something shift in her sister-in-law's eyes. Uncertainty, perhaps. The recognition that Maya was no longer isolated and therefore no longer as easy to manipulate. Life lesson. Genuine love and support empower you to stand stronger, while manipulation seeks to keep you weak and isolated. The right person will celebrate your strength, not exploit your vulnerabilities. Summary. Maya navigates increasing family isolation while finding solace in her deepening friendship with Arjun, who validates her reality and offers unwavering support. During a family festival, Arjun reveals his longtime admiration for Maya, and they acknowledge their growing feelings for each other. Their connection provides Maya with the strength to face her family situation, while Priya begins to recognize that her control over the narrative is slipping.
The unraveling. The morning after the festival, Rohan sat at his kitchen table nursing a cup of tea that had long gone cold. Sleep had been elusive, his mind replaying fragments of conversations, inconsistencies he'd been too trusting to notice before. The overheard phone call. The way Priya's stories about Maya never quite aligned. The growing distance in his once close family. He looked up as Priya entered, perfectly dressed as always, her smile bright and practiced. "Good morning, darling. You're up early," she said, kissing his cheek.
Priya, we need to talk about Maya. Something flickered across her face, too quick to name. Oh, what about her? You said she forgot Dadi's birthday last month, but I was going through photos yesterday and found one Maya posted of her visiting Dadi that exact day with flowers and cake. Priya waved her hand dismissively. Maybe I got the dates confused. You know how busy things have been. And you told Ma that Maya said family gatherings were boring, but Maya never says things like that. Rohan, why are you interrogating me? Priya's voice had taken on an edge. I've been trying to help your family see that Maya needs guidance. She's become so self-centered since starting that business. Has she? Or have you been making them think that? The silence that followed was heavy with implication. Priya's expressions cycled through surprise, indignation, and finally, carefully controlled anger. I can't believe you're taking her side over your wife's. I'm not taking sides. I'm asking for truth. Meanwhile, at her parents' home, another conversation was unfolding. Neha had arrived unexpectedly, her young face troubled. Nana, I need to tell you something about Maya D. Maya's mother, Sunita, looked up from her embroidery. What is it, Beta? I think we've all been wrong about her. Really wrong. Neha took a deep breath. Last month, Priya D told me that Maya D said my college choice was stupid. It hurt so much that I didn't talk to Maya D for weeks. But yesterday, I found an old message from Maya D before Priya D said anything. She was congratulating me, saying she was proud of my choice. She never said anything negative. Maya's father, Rajesh, set down his newspaper. Are you certain? Yes, and there's more. Priya D told you Maya forgot to call Dadi, but I was there when Maya called. Priya D told Rohan Baya that Maya was saying mean things about his career, but I heard their actual conversation and it was supportive. I didn't connect it all until last night when I saw Maya D and Arjun Baya together. What does Arjun have to do with this? Sunita asked, confused. He treats Maya D like she matters, like her words and choices are worth something. And it made me realize how we've all stopped doing that. We've been listening to Priya D's version of Maya D instead of actually paying attention to Maya D herself. The pieces were falling into place across multiple households like dominoes that had been set up over months, finally completing their pattern. That evening, Rohan called a family meeting without telling Priya. His parents arrived first, followed by Neha, and finally, Maya, who looked apprehensive. Why are we here? Maya asked quietly. Rohan stood, his face showing strain and determination. Because I owe you an apology. We all do. Over the next hour, the family compared stories. Each person shared what Priya had told them about Maya, and as they spoke, the contradictions became undeniable. Priya had told Sunita that Maya thought her cooking was old-fashioned. She had told Rajesh that Maya found his advice irrelevant. She had told Rohan that Maya was jealous of his marriage. None of it was true, but woven together with just enough plausibility, it had created a false narrative that poisoned their relationships. But why? Sunita asked, tears in her eyes. Why would Priya do this? Maya, who had been silent through most of the revelations, finally spoke. I think I was a threat somehow. Maybe to her position in the family, maybe to the attention she wanted. I don't fully understand it, but the why matters less than what we do now. Rajesh reached across and took Maya's hand. Beta, we failed you. We let someone else's words matter more than our own daughter's character. Can you forgive us? Maya's tears flowed freely now. I never stopped loving you. I was just so hurt and confused. When Priya arrived home later that night, she found her belongings packed and Rohan waiting with papers in his hand. The marriage didn't end that night, but the trust that held it together had shattered beyond immediate repair. Rohan made it clear that rebuilding would require complete honesty and likely professional help, if it was even possible at all. Life lesson. Truth has a way of emerging when people start comparing notes and trusting their own observations over someone else's narrative. Manipulation crumbles when exposed to open, honest communication.
Healing and New Beginnings. 3 months later, Maya stood in her parents' garden, watching her mother tend to the rose bushes they'd planted together years ago. The silence between them was no longer heavy with misunderstanding, but comfortable with renewed familiarity. "The yellow ones are finally blooming," Sunita said, gesturing to a bush in the corner. "You always loved the yellow roses." "I remember," Maya replied, moving closer. "You said they meant friendship and new beginnings." Sunita straightened, wiping soil from her hands. "I've been thinking a lot about beginnings lately. How we had to start over with you, relearn who you really are instead of who we'd been told you were. Ma, you don't have to keep apologizing." "But I do, Beta. Not to punish myself, but to remind myself. To never again let someone else's poison infect my view of my own child." Sunita touched Maya's cheek gently. "You showed us such grace through all of this. Lesser people would have walked away from us entirely." The healing had been gradual but genuine. Sunday dinners had resumed, though now with more open communication. When someone had a concern about Maya, they brought it directly to her rather than discussing it behind her back. The family had learned a painful but valuable lesson about trust and verification. Rajesh had taken Maya to lunch the week after the confrontation, spending 3 hours simply listening to her experiences over the past months. No justifications, no interruptions, just a father, finally hearing his daughter's pain. He'd cried, something Maya had rarely seen, and promised to do better. Neha had become one of Maya's closest confidants, the two cousins bonding over their shared experience of recognizing manipulation. "I almost helped destroy your relationship with everyone," Neha had confessed one evening. "I feel terrible." "You also helped expose the truth," Maya had reminded her. "That takes courage." As for Rohan, his journey was perhaps the most complicated. He'd moved into his own apartment, taking time to process his marriage and his role in what had happened. He and Priya were attending counseling, though the outcome remained uncertain. Rohan visited Maya often, their sibling bond slowly healing through honest conversations about pain, betrayal, and the complexity of loving someone who'd caused harm. "I should have noticed," Rohan said during one visit. "You're my sister. I should have protected you." "You're human," Maya replied gently. "Priya was your wife. You wanted to trust her. We all did." The sound of a car pulling up interrupted Maya's thoughts. She turned to see Arjun emerging with a bouquet of wildflowers, not roses, just like she preferred. Her heart still did that small flip when she saw him, 6 months into their relationship, and the feeling only deepened. "You're early," she called out, smiling. "I missed you," he said simply, kissing her forehead as he reached her. He greeted Sunita warmly, who now treated him like a son rather than just Rohan's friend. "Stay for dinner," Sunita insisted. "Rajesh is making his famous biryani." That evening, gathered around the family table with her parents, Neha and Arjun, Maya felt something she hadn't experienced in nearly a year: complete peace. The chair where Rohan usually sat was empty tonight, but he'd be back next week, continuing his own path toward healing. Later, on the rooftop terrace where they'd first acknowledged their feelings, Maya and Arjun stood beneath the stars. "I've been thinking," Arjun said, turning to face her, "about how sometimes the worst situations lead to unexpected gifts. If all of this hadn't happened, we might never have really found each other." "Are you saying you're grateful for what Priya did?" asked Maya, with raised eyebrows. "No, never. I'm saying I'm grateful for what you did, how you responded with integrity instead of bitterness, how you gave your family another chance when you could have walked away, how you let yourself be vulnerable enough to trust me despite everything." He took her hands in his. "Maya, you turned poison into medicine. That's extraordinary." Maya leaned into his embrace, feeling the steady beat of his heart against her cheek. The journey hadn't been easy, and scars remained that would take more time to fully heal. But standing here, surrounded by restored love and new possibilities, she understood something profound. True belonging wasn't about perfection or the absence of conflict. It was about people choosing to see each other clearly, to communicate honestly, and to fight for connection even when it would be easier to walk away. It was about finding someone who stood beside you in the darkness and celebrated with you in the light. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," Arjun replied. "And I promise, every day, to see you for exactly who you are." Below them, the city hummed with life. Above them, stars witnessed their quiet promises. And in that moment, Maya knew that while betrayal had nearly destroyed her foundation, truth and love had built something even stronger in its place. Life lesson. Healing from betrayal requires time, honest communication, and the courage to trust again. The people who truly love you will do the hard work of rebuilding trust. And sometimes, the pain we endure opens doors to love and strength we never knew we possessed. Summary. The family discovers Priya's web of lies through comparing stories and recognizing contradictions, leading to confrontation and the beginning of consequences. In the months that follow, Maya's family works to rebuild trust through open communication and genuine apology. Maya and Arjun's relationship deepens as she finds peace in restored family bonds and the love of someone who sees and values her true self. The story concludes with Maya understanding that resilience, truth, and authentic love ultimately triumph over manipulation and betrayal.